Ghost of Tsushima, a good video game. Moving right along. Next story.
I was like, yeah. I mean, it is pretty good.
So we know that there is a Ghost of Tsushima movie in development being directed by, what's his name? Chad Stahelski. He not only directed John Wick Chapter 4, but he co-directed the other John Wick movies. He was, I think, Keanu Reeves' stunt double in the original Matrix movies. He's directed quite a few things, but he is also directing the Ghost of Tsushima movie. We know virtually nothing about it other than it's in the works, being directed by him. It's going to be a movie. And he recently told Collider, interview again in the description of this episode, that they're looking to do first of all, an all Japanese cast and then have the movie be in Japanese, which I think is kind of cool. And he said that Sony is super on board with it, which I think is pretty cool and pretty exciting. What do you think about that?
I think that'll be great. I think that's like the perfect opportunity for them to do this. Is to really come in with a game like Ghost of Tsushima that is so based on traditional Kurosawa, films, and putting that back into theaters and getting that genre back in there. I mean, so many people played Ghost of Tsushima with that, camera mode on, and I'm sure people played it with dubs and subtitles as it was, right? So, like, I think it's great to do that. I think it's cool to do that. I just think that is such an interesting, unique choice for a film to make. And I hope the film's quality will be good enough to warrant that. You know what I mean? It's not just like a gimmick. And I hope it is like one of those, like, I would die of happiness if a video game movie was being like considered for an Oscar or, an Emmy. Like that would be just an amazing thing. And if they can pull this off and it's not just a gimmick, I think that'd be awesome.
I think talking about it being a gimmick is huge, because I know that when Ghost of Tsushima first came out, there were a lot of Japanese people and Japanese journalists writing about how, like, it's clear that it was made by people who like Kurosawa, but it's not necessarily made by people who have lived Japanese lives. I don't know exactly. I don't have any of those articles up in front of me, and I'm just going off my memory. I don't know exactly what that means in terms of Ghost of Tsushima. I don't know. I'm not Japanese, but I know that was a part of it. And so hopefully, if they are leaning into this aspect of it, they're able to potentially correct some of those, maybe, I guess the best way, like cultural mishaps, maybe. I don't think that there was anything like horrifically offensive in it, but just one of those things similar to the conversation surrounding like Sifu, about it being made by a Western studio about Asian culture. It can be a little dicey. So with what you're saying is, I hope that if they are leaning into it being, an authentic Japanese film, that it can make it more than just a gimmick of, oh, isn't it cool that they were speaking Japanese the whole time? Like, it has to be more than that. It has to be like, yeah, and it also, I don't know anything about Japanese culture in that way, so like I can't speak to it. But yeah, I think this is cool. And as we've said before, I think Ghost of Tsushima is one of the top tier PlayStation games that we think would translate well to film or TV or whatever. It has just a really solid story at the core of it.
I actually have a question for you. I was having a conversation with my brother-in-law about this, and he brought it up and was talking about it, and I misheard him. I thought he was talking about the next Ghost of Tsushima game was going to be Japanese only. How would you feel about that?
I think that's fine. It can't. It's tough, right? Because from an artistic standpoint, I think that's cool. I think that's great. But from an accessibility and gameplay standpoint, I don't know how much I love that. For example, when you start up Ghostwire Tokyo, it is in Japanese and has English subtitles. And I think that's great. It is a Japanese game made by Japanese people. Put it, make the default Japanese. But as I'm running around the world, like I wasn't able to like read the game and play it at the same time,
Yeah.
I think, to my understanding, like not a lot of like super important dialogue happens in Ghost of Tsushima during gameplay. Most of that is going to be during cutscenes, so you do have the time to take a step back and read it. But for me, someone who doesn't speak Japanese that well, I might add, I can ask you what time it is, Justin. Ima nanchi desu ka? All right.
What did you say?
I said ima nanji desu ka, which is what time is it?
Oh, okay. It's
Ima
2:53.
being right now, nanji being time what, and then des is ka ? Boom. I took Japanese for a single semester in college. How about you? I can say senko wa journalism. It means my major was journalism, and that's all I got. But yeah, like I don't speak Japanese, so like reading the subtitles during gameplay when I have to be like looking at other things is a little bit dicey, but I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to that. But I think that in terms of accessibility wise, it might be a little dicey. What do you think? Would you be down for a fully Japanese game?
No, I think the reasons you said is exactly why when he said that, I was like, that's a dumb idea. And he was looking at me like I was crazy. And I was like, well, yeah, I can't focus on like the text while I'm like trying to do the combat and action and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then he was talking about the movie. I'm like, oh, that's different. Like, but like in a game, like even like language stuff aside, I was listening to a podcast while I was like walking around the open world of Xenoblade, and I had like subtitles on or whatever. Mm-hmm. But then like stuff is happening, and then I'm trying to like also like read while playing the game. It was a little hard at moments to like really get that focus on as I was doing that. So I don't think that would be the, as you said, the pro accessibility way to go about a video game. Having those options is great.
Oh yeah, totally.
But like with everything, then you have that more resources in order to do that. It's hard. It's to get 2 good voice acting tracks can sometimes be difficult.
Dude, freaking Ghostwire Tokyo is like the English. Like I imagine the Japanese dub is better. Like I don't speak Japanese, so I can't say. But the English dub is terrible. It is so bad. Yeah, agreed. But I think a movie, because you don't have to focus on anything other than like what people are saying and what's happening. I think.
Well, if you're watching it in a movie theater, but if you're watching it at home and you have your phone out, the fridge is right around the corner.
Yeah, you're playing Xenoblade on your Switch at the same time.
Yeah,
that's got its volume all the way up. And you're listening to a podcast. Like it does get hard to focus. I've found with I mean, all that sort of experience.
Yeah, I just don't have the processing power for that because I'm still thinking about that episode that I lost. So you add that on top of everything.
And then, I am listening to music and I'm doing I'm dancing a little bit.
Yeah, you're playing music too while listening to it, trying to,
Yeah. And, I am waiting for something to come out of the microwave. Just like regular day.
Normal stuff.
And the dog's got to go outside, so I got to take that out.
Yeah. But fortunately, a lot of the stuff is portable nowadays, so you can take the dog out while you're doing all that other stuff.
Right. But you're going to have to pause the movie.
Yeah, you just can't. You can't do it.
Yeah. So...
Moral of the story,
we'll see.
Go to a movie theater.
Yeah.